Racist teens pick on the wrong new student, not knowing he's a champion boxer. When three bullies cornered Kareem Tulliver behind the old gym, they thought it would be easy. They thought he was just another quiet kid. They thought silence meant weakness. But within seconds, one of them was face down on the cold pavement, gasping for breath. The others froze, their eyes wide, finally realizing they had messed with the wrong kid. That moment would echo through every hallway of Millstone High School, Lansing, Michigan. But for Kareem, it wasn't the fight that mattered. It was everything that came before, and everything that came after. The first time Kareem pushed open the heavy double doors of Millstone High, no one paid attention. No whispers, no curious glances, no friendly welcome. Just another transfer student, halfway through the semester. His backpack straps were fraying. His hoodie faded at the sleeves. He walked like someone who measured every step before taking it. Not shy, not scared, just careful. Back in Detroit, where Kareem grew up, moving carefully wasn't just a habit. It was survival. His uncle called it moving invisible. It meant keeping your head low, reading the room, never standing out unless you had to. Attention in the wrong place could get you jumped or worse. But Millstone wasn't Detroit. The hallways here were polished, lockers unscarred, the kids loud and full of confidence. They wore new sneakers, fresh haircuts, jackets that smelled like money. Their laughter carried across the halls like they owned every inch of space. Kareem noticed the stares. The way someone's eyes lingered on his second-hand shoes. The way a boy in gym class smirked at his faded hoodie, like it was a costume. He didn't say a word. Didn't complain. He just slipped into his seat in first period math, opened his notebook, and focused on the numbers. The teacher gave no introduction. The students whispered nothing. Kareem preferred it that way. Silence wasn't new. Silence was safe. By the third day, he was eating lunch alone. Cafeteria tray balanced on a corner table. Spaghetti, a banana, chocolate milk. Nothing special, just food. That's when he heard it. A voice loud enough to break the room. "Yo, what is that? You bring that from home or something?" Kareem looked up. Standing a few feet away was Brock Simmons, star football player, co-captain of the varsity team, and self-declared king of the junior class. Two boys flanked him, both grinning like hyenas waiting for scraps. Kareem didn't answer. He just kept eating. Brock smirked, tilted his head. Man's eating like it's the Great Depression. Laughter rippled through the nearby tables. Not everyone joined in, but enough did. Enough for the words to sting. Kareem chewed slow, eyes down. He wasn't about to start anything. Not here. Not now. One of Brock's friends leaned closer, voice sharp. "You hear me, man? You deaf or just slow?" Kareem finally looked up. Not with anger. Not with fear. Just one calm glance. Then he blinked, grabbed his milk, stood up. "I'm done." He walked away. No insults. No scene. Just silence. But Brock wasn't used to silence. And that silence would soon become fire. That afternoon in science class, someone shoved Kareem's books off his desk. No one claimed it. The teacher didn't notice. Later, someone scrawled "charity case" across his locker in dry erase marker. It wiped off easy, but the mark stayed in Kareem's chest longer than it did on the locker. He didn't react. He didn't tell anyone. He just went home, same as always. Only home wasn't just four walls. It was a gym, hidden behind a tire shop on the edge of town. A place that smelled of sweat and leather, where fists met pads, and anger found rhythm instead of chaos. Inside, Uncle Reggie looked up from wrapping someone's hands. "You all right?" "Yeah, just school." Reggie didn't press. He never did. He just pointed to the mats. "Let it out. That's what they're for." Kareem didn't talk. He didn't need to. He strapped on the gloves, stepped onto the mat, and let his fists do the talking. Counters. Pivot. Clean. Precise. Controlled. Uncle Reggie always said the same thing. Fighting's not about showing off. It's about knowing when not to. That lesson lived in Kareem's bones. But Brock Simmons was about to test how deep it ran. By Thursday, whispers had already started floating around the halls of Millstone High. Not about Kareem's grades. Not about where he came from. But about the silence. Kid doesn't talk. Just stares. Creepy, right? It spread the way rumors always do, in half-truths and cheap laughs. The quiet kid from Detroit had turned into a story. And stories grow teeth when the wrong people tell them. Friday afternoon, Coach Rollins barked out pairings for basketball drills. The gym smelled of sweat and rubber, squeaks of sneakers echoing off the walls. Kareem, you're with Brock. Heads turned. Some smirked. Some waited. Brock Simmons spun the ball lazily in his hands, a grin crawling across his face. When Kareem walked up, Brock tossed the ball a little too hard. It smacked Kareem's chest with a thud. Come on, Tolliver. Show me what you got. Kareem bounced the ball twice. We just passing, right? Yeah, just passing. Brock's stance looked casual, but his eyes weren't. He wanted something. Anything. Kareem passed the ball back, sharp and clean. It hit Brock square in the chest, echoing like a clap through the gym. Brock blinked. The other boys snickered. Dang! For the first time, Brock's grin faltered. And right there he decided. He didn't like Kareem Tolliver. The next week it started small. A shove near the vending machines. A piece of gum stuffed in his locker vent. Snide remarks loud enough for Kareem to hear. Yo, Tolliver. You bring your bulletproof vest today? Laughter. Careful, don't stare too long. Kid might snap. More laughter. Some kids didn't laugh. Some looked away, uncomfortable. But no one said anything. Silence in Millstone wasn't safety. Here silence was gasoline. And Brock Simmons held the lighter. Lunch became Brock's stage. One table, center of the room, loud as a drumbeat. Every joke aimed like a dart. You from Detroit, right? Where's your gang? You walk like you just got out of juvie. Hey Tolliver, smile for once. Or is that illegal where you're from? Kareem sat alone at the back table. Same spaghetti. Same chocolate milk. Same silence. Every insult landed, but Kareem never flinched. Not once. Not even when the whole room was watching. That silence. It burned Brock more than any comeback could. That night, Kareem rode the number 12 bus to the edge of town. Snow crusted the sidewalks, headlights flickering against the windows. At the gym, Uncle Reggie noticed the tightness in his jaw. You holding something back? Kareem nodded. Trying to. Reggie set down his coffee. Sometimes holding back is harder than swinging. But don't confuse patience with weakness. If someone backs you into a corner, you don't let them walk over you either. Kareem didn't answer. He didn't need to. By Wednesday, the whispers had sharpened. He's got a record. Got kicked out of his old school. He fought a teacher once. Dude carries a knife in his bag. None of it was true. But truth didn't matter. Not when lies sounded better. In history, Brock leaned over his desk, voice low but heavy. You ever seen a real fight, Tolliver? Kareem kept his eyes forward. Yeah. I mean up close. Blood on the floor kind. Kareem finally turned his head. You don't want that kind. Brock smirked. Is that a threat? Kareem shook his head. It's a warning. That smirk twitched. Just a little. The days dragged heavier. Every step down the hall carried eyes. Every whisper bent his name. Kareem knew the routine. He'd seen it before. Bullies don't stop until they get the reaction they want. And sooner or later, they'd corner him. Friday night. Millstone Mall parking lot. Cold air, smoke curling from cheap vapes. Brock Simmons leaned against his dad's pickup truck, flanked by his crew, Chase, Tyler and Mason. "He thinks he's tough 'cause he don't talk," Chase spat. "Kid's just hiding." Brock grinned, tossing a soda can and crushing it mid-air. "Monday. After school. We make him talk." The others laughed. It wasn't funny. It was ritual. In Millstone, breaking someone wasn't just sport. It was survival of reputation. And Brock, he lived off reputation. That same night, Kareem shadowboxed in the small, dim-lit gym. Fists cutting through air, sweat dripping into his eyes. Uncle Reggie watched from the bench, arms folded. Hands up higher. Plus. The bag swung violently under each blow. But Reggie saw the storm wasn't in the fists. It was behind the eyes. "You're carrying something, nephew." Kareem stopped, chest heaving. "They don't want me here." Reggie nodded slowly. "They don't have to want you here. But you belong anywhere you stand your ground." Kareem looked at his knuckles, raw under the wraps. He wanted to believe that. He wasn't sure he could. The air felt heavier that Monday. Snow melted into gray slush along the sidewalks, clouds sagging low. Inside Millstone High, whispers slithered like smoke. "They're gonna jump him today. After school. You hear about Tolliver." Kareem walked the halls, shoulders square, books pressed tight against his chest. He could feel the eyes. He could feel the clock ticking toward something inevitable. In English, Brock tapped his pencil against his desk. Kareem sat 2 rows over. Not moving. Not blinking. The pencil snapped in half. Brock smirked, tossing the pieces onto the floor. "Oops." The teacher glanced up, suspicious, but said nothing. 'Cause that's how it always was. No one interfered until it was too late. By lunch, tension was thicker than the smell of grease and fries. Kareem sat at his usual spot, back corner, tray untouched. Brock stood at his table, friends hyping him up, voices rising like a crowd before a fight. "Yo, Tolliver. Detroit boy. You hiding behind that tray." Kareem didn't move. Didn't answer. Brock walked closer, leaned down, voice dripping venom. "After school. Behind the bleachers. Show. Or you're nothing." The cafeteria went silent. Every eye flicked to Kareem, waiting. Slowly, Kareem lifted his gaze. Teddy. Be careful what you ask for." A murmur rippled through the room. Some kids gasped. Others grinned nervously. Brock's grin widened. Finally a crack. Finally the reaction he'd been starving for. All afternoon the news spread. Tolliver's fighting Simmons. Behind the bleachers. 3:15. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was an event. Stage. Kareem sat through math, history, science. Every tick of the clock heavy in his chest. By the final bell, his jaw was tight, fists clenched inside his sleeves. He wasn't afraid. But he wasn't eager either. He knew what fights cost. He knew they never ended when the fists stopped. As he walked out the side doors, cold air biting his face, Reggie's words echoed in his skull. "Patience isn't weakness. But don't let them walk over you." Behind the bleachers, voices already gathered. Cheering. Betting. Phones out, ready to record. Brock stood in the middle, jacket off, fists bouncing like a boxer warming up. "Thought you wouldn't show." Kareem dropped his bag to the ground. He didn't say a word. The crowd tightened, hungry. 2 lives, 2 reputations about to collide. And somewhere deep inside, Kareem felt it. The storm he'd been holding back was about to break. Behind the millstone bleachers, a ring had formed. Students shoulder to shoulder, phones raised high, chanting names like a Coliseum crowd. "Brock! Brock! Brock!" Some chanted Kareem's name too, but softer, uncertain. Cold wind whipped through the field, but the heat of the crowd pressed heavy. Brock cracked his knuckles, stepping forward with a grin that dripped arrogance. "You're far from Detroit now, Tolliver. Let's see what you got." Kareem said nothing. Just stood tall, eyes locked, chest steady. That silence, it was louder than the crowd itself. Brock lunged first, wild right hook. Kareem slipped it effortlessly, the punch grazing air. Gasps shot through the crowd. Brock swung again, sloppy, fast. Kareem blocked, pivoted, and landed a sharp body shot. But Brock staggered back, shock flashing across his face. The crowd roared. Yo, he tagged him. Brock's grin vanished. His pride lit like gasoline. He charged again, fists flying in reckless fury. But Kareem, he was different. Controlled. Each dodge smooth, each counter sharp. Left jab, right cross, back. Brock's face reddened, sweat flying as punches missed their mark. Then crack. A clean hook snapped his head sideways. He stumbled, knees buckling. Phones caught every angle. Voices screamed in disbelief. For a moment Kareem froze. He saw not Brock, but every bully who'd ever cornered him. Every cop who stared too long. Every night in Detroit when fists were the only language survival spoke. His knuckles tightened. His chest heaved. This wasn't just Brock anymore. It was bigger. Blood dripped from Brock's lip. He spat crimson into the dirt and charged again. Tackle, desperate, reckless. Kareem sidestepped, slammed a knee into Brock's gut. Brock collapsed, coughing violently, gasping for breath. The crowd erupted. Some cheering, some screaming, some frozen in shock. Kareem stood over him, breath steaming in the cold air. Hands clenched, ready to finish it. The crowd leaned in, phones trembling, waiting for the final blow. But Kareem didn't move. Didn't strike. He just stepped back. Eyes locked on Brock's crumpled form. You wanted to see what I got, Kareem said finally, voice steady. Now you know. The words cut sharper than fists ever could. Teachers' voices cut through the crowd, rushing toward the circle. Students scattered, phones pocketed, whispers flying everywhere. But the damage was done. By tomorrow the video would be everywhere. Brock Simmons, Millstone's untouchable king, humiliated. And Kareem Tolliver. He wasn't invisible anymore. But deep inside Kareem felt no victory. Only the weight of what came next. Next morning, Millstone High's hallways buzzed like a hive. Laughter. Secretive stares. Everywhere Kareem walked, he felt the weight of 1,000 eyes. Phones tilted discreetly as he passed. Screens lit up with the same shaky video. His fists cutting through Brock like a storm. Someone had slowed it down, added rap beats. Another had edited fire around Kareem's punches. By first period, he wasn't just Kareem Tolliver. He was the Detroit Destroyer. Kareem slid into his desk. Whispers snapped like twigs behind him. Yo, that's him. Brock didn't even land one. Bet he's been in juvie. Ms. Anders, the English teacher, cleared her throat too harshly. Phones away. This is a classroom, not a boxing ring. But even she couldn't stop herself from stealing a glance at Kareem, lips pressed thin with judgment. By lunch, Kareem was summoned. Principal Hargrove's office smelled of coffee and old carpet. The principal leaned back, hands folded, eyes cold. Kareem, this school has zero tolerance for violence. Kareem sat rigid, jaw locked. I didn't start it. You know that. That doesn't matter, Hargrove snapped. Brock's father is on the school board. His mother has already called the district. Do you understand what position this puts us in? Kareem's chest burned. So that was it. Truth didn't matter. Names did. That afternoon Brock returned. Lip split, ego shattered, but swagger carefully glued back in place. His friends flanked him, spreading the rumor. Kareem sucker punched him. Kareem jumped him with 3 other guys. Kareem's dad taught him prison moves. By the end of the day, truth was drowning under Brock's lies. At night, Kareem sat at the kitchen table. His foster mother, Denise, scrolled her phone, frowning. Baby, this video. It's everywhere. On TikTok, views climbing past 200,000. On Instagram, edits painting Kareem as a street thug. Some comments cheering him on. Others dripping venom. Detroit trash. He'll end up in jail like the rest. Don't mess with Tolliver. Kareem stared at the screen, his fists tightening. It didn't matter if he fought for survival. The world only saw a stereotype. Late that night his phone buzzed. A DM from an unknown account. This ain't over. Tomorrow we finish it. No name. But Kareem didn't need one. He knew exactly who it was. Kareem lay awake, ceiling fan spinning shadows across the room. He wasn't afraid of Brock. Not of fist. Not of pain. But the system, the whispers, the teacher's stares, the principal's politics. That was the real fight. And tomorrow, it would only get heavier. Next day, Millstone High's parking lot felt different. Whispers weren't whispers anymore. They were loud, sharp, cutting straight into Kareem's ears. Yo, he's here. Detroit Destroyer's back. Bet Brock's gonna get him today. Some kids smiled at Kareem with awe. Others smirked, waiting for blood. In history class, Brock sat 2 rows behind Kareem. Every few minutes, a paper ball smacked the back of his head. Laughter followed. Enjoy your 15 minutes, Tolliver, Brock muttered. You'll be gone by Friday. Kareem ignored him, jaw clenched tight. But ignoring only made Brock push harder. This wasn't about fists anymore. This was about breaking Kareem's spirit. Lunch. The cafeteria buzzed louder than usual. Brock strutted in with his crew, swagger forced but eyes burning. He slammed Kareem's tray off the table, food splattering across the floor. The room went silent. What's the matter, fighter? Brock sneered. Gonna hit me again. In front of everyone. Kareem stood slowly, towering just enough to make the crowd hold its breath. His fists itched. His heart raced. But Denise's voice echoed in his head. Baby, don't let them paint you the way they want. So Kareem stepped back. Didn't swing. Didn't snap. He just stared Brock down, calm and cold. And whispered, "You're not worth it." Before Kareem could walk away, Mr. Jenkins, the gym coach, stormed over. What's going on here? Brock spread his arms, playing the victim. He threatened me again, coach. Ask anybody. The cafeteria buzzed with murmurs. Some kids nodded, lying to protect Brock. Others stayed silent, too scared to speak. Coach's glare landed on Kareem. One more stunt like this, Tolliver, and you're out of this school. You hear me? Kareem swallowed his rage. Yes, sir. But inside, fire boiled hotter than ever. The sun dipped low. Kareem walked home alone, backpack heavy. Steps echoed behind him. He turned. Brock. 2 of his boys. Blocking the sidewalk, grins sharp as blades. Told you this ain't over, Brock hissed. They lunged. Fists flew. 3 against 1. Kareem's training snapped alive. Blocking, countering, fighting with precision. But numbers pressed hard. A punch cracked his jaw. A kick slammed his ribs. Still, Kareem didn't crumble. Didn't break. He fought back with the fury of every night he survived in Detroit alleys. One boy hit the ground. Another staggered back, nose bloodied. Kareem and Brock locked eyes, fists raised, until headlights cut across the street. Car pulled up. Denise's voice screamed. Kareem! Get in the car now. Blue lights flashed minutes later. A neighbor had called. 2 squad cars rolled up, officers spilling out. But they didn't ask questions. Didn't separate boys. Their eyes went straight to Kareem. Ooh. Hands on the hood. Now. Kareem's heart pounded. He looked at Brock. Smirking, wiping fake blood from his lip. This wasn't a fight anymore. This was a trap. Kareem's hands trembled against cold steel as cuffs snapped around his wrists.